Welcome to What Are You Sporting About Podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Sivonnia DeBarros. Welcome to What Are You Sporting About Podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Sivonnia DeBarros.
What's up, everybody? It's Sivonnia DeBarros, the protector of athletes. And again, I am back for the NIL Combined Speaker Interview Series. And I'm super excited because we have some dope speakers lined up for the 2023 second annual NIL Combine. And I have none other than Dr. Jam. Her real or her government name is Jamira Mitchell. Welcome to the stage. I think this is the first time ever that I've interviewed you.
Yes,
right?
It is. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. And listen, before we dive in, I have to remind you guys, if you have not yet booked your seat for the NIL Combine, listen, you got to go out there and get it. Go ahead and reserve your seat today because tickets will be going up. All right. So I'm putting this at the bottom of my screen, but I'm going to tell you, go and secure your ticket right now for NIL Combine 2023. You can RSVP today at bit.ly/NIL Combine 2023. Again, that's bit.ly/NIL Combine 2023. bit.ly/NIL Combine 2023. We are the #1 premier event for name, image, and likeness. And the reason why we have amazing individuals, professionals, experts coming in together is because we are on a mission to break down barriers that have often left our community stuck and unable to create a future on our own terms. So if you want some of that, then you need to be in the building. People always say they want to change their circumstances, but the first step to doing that is taking action and putting yourself in the room, in the places to get the connections, to get the resources, to get the information that you can implement to then create the future that you desire for yourself. So if you game for that, then I hope that I see you here. It will be July 27th through the 29th in Chicago. We do have a virtual option, but obviously I want to see you. I want to hug on you. I want to love on you. I want to support you. So join me in the building, 27th through the 29th of July here in Chicago for NIL Combined second annual event. So we have Dr. Jam in the building, and I'm super excited that she has agreed to join us as a speaker this year because we are always looking for amazing individuals who can bring new and different dynamic of issues to the table, things that will really awaken your idea of what NIL is, right? We're always seeing this as this one level of things. And so we're here to break that. We're here to break it down and give you guys information that you need. So, Jamira, go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are and why you said yes to the call.
Okay, so I am actually a high school career and tech educational teacher. And and I'm a high school teacher at that. So being in the high school setting, hearing and speaking with my students, mostly student athletes, and, hearing them say, "Oh, Dr. Mitchell, so this is happening." And I'm like, but okay, so that's good. But you have a scholarship. But let's look at the scholarship. So does it include room and board? Does it only include tuition? Where are you going to stay? How are you going to eat? So, and they're like, oh, we didn't think about that, but we got an offer. but that's okay that you have an offer. You need to know the terms of the offer. And so it's always me telling my student athletes that is fine, but you need to be educated. And now moving into this whole NIL spot, I have the flexibility within my classes to teach a lot of branding and marketing. So we have those times where we actually, for an assignment, they were able to put together their own NCAA Madness a marketing assignment. So we looked at that. And so I was like, okay, so now we're moving into the whole NIL. Let's talk about personal branding. And not only just as a student athlete, but as a person. We want to break this word down, personal. So the root word is person. So who are you as a person? What do you want to be known as? What is your legacy? So we talk about that. And it's not just for my student athletes, as I continue to say, it is for all of my students, because personal branding is for all students. And name, image, and likeness is for everyone. So we need to talk about more about that. And so I love the flexibility to be able to talk to them about real things. And being that I have a master's in sports business, I'm like, okay, sometimes I have to put my credentials out for them to let them know, this isn't me just telling you random things. Like, I've studied this. I have a PhD in education with a concentration in sports business. I know this. I can help you. So that is my biggest thing. That is my joy of helping all of my students understand personal branding, understanding name, image, and likeness. If you allow someone to take your picture, like, what are you signing off for? If you allow someone if you're promoting something, if something is simply in your background, you could be giving someone free publicity and you don't even know it. So, we want to make sure everyone wants to be an influencer, but where do we go after being an influencer?
No, that is real. So there's something that you said in your application about noticing that there was a gap between the lack of branding that you student athletes were having. So I'm so glad that you've pretty much have taken up that torch in your classroom to have those conversations, because it's so real. Like, even with the whole free publicity thing, the other day I did a podcast episode and I was holding this cup that I got from an event. And of course, it has their logo. So I had to make sure I turned the logo around. So it's just blank. Because listen, you ain't paid me for this.
I'll pull out some black tape.
Right. You have not paid me for this. And you also have, it's a two-way street. So it's either, are you also giving free publicity, and are you possibly infringing someone's mark by having it on your show without their permission, right? Or whatever it might be. So, like, we could even think of sometimes when we see certain shows, a brand might be fizzled out, like blurred out, because maybe you haven't gotten the release.
Yes.
Right? Do you want to go back and redo your entire project just because you didn't check all your boxes and get all your releases or whatever that, or pay whatever you need to do, to have a limited license to use it? So, having someone in this space, NIL is huge.
Yes.
And as you said, this is something I've been trying to get across to people. NIL is so much more than just a marketing ploy or social media or just getting paid literally pennies on a dollar just to post something. It is a bigger play than that. And we all have been utilizing NIL for years, even before collegiate athletes had the ability to monetize in the college space. So what are you seeing right now in the high school, at the high school level? Because what state are you in?
I'm in Louisiana, so we allow our student athletes to monetize from their name, image, and likeness in high school. So the thing I'm seeing is, unfortunately, what we saw on the collegiate level. Like, everyone is trying to see how they can make it big, and it's like, you don't have to worry about making it big. Take care of yourself first. Their personal brand. And so I guess that's why my biggest thing is taking care of your personal brand. Personally saying that, okay, I know I can do this, but where do we go from here? And sometimes there are a lot of peers that unfortunately they go by the hearsay. So I heard little Johnny is making this much money, so can you make little Susie this much money, because she's cuter? So so it's breaking the stigma of the mindset, changing that mindset. So my biggest thing is within the NIL spot is to educate. I'm an educator first. So, I educate, we look at, what is branding, as we look at logos, what are logos? What are hex codes? Like, how can this brand board help you? Like, where we were just talking about, with the logos. Like, you can have someone do your logo here, and then they take the same logo and someone else does it totally different. Your colors aren't the same. It's not in line to what you were. Like, maybe you have a sunshiny business model that you want to start, and then somebody turns it into goth because they didn't know the hex codes. So I explained to them what are hex codes. I explained to them the typography, the whole thing of brand board. And then we move into the NIL, the name, image, and likeness. And then finally, we get into the aspect of partnering with brands, how you should present yourself. So it's kind of a pipeline.
I love that. What are you seeing in terms of high school's attention span to retain the information that you're providing? Like, I'm literally going to be speaking to high schoolers in the next month, and I'm like, oh gosh, how am I going to present this information that is palpable for them so they truly get it? Like, I know we have some smart kids, but right now, the type of environment that has been created, especially by receiving information so quickly and not necessarily being real information, is in very small bites. What do you think about that?
So the first thing is you got to hook them. So if you can name drop something, you have to name drop. Like, it's like us as adults. Like, we look for the glitz and the glamour of things. So, if you can hook us within the first 2 seconds, that's good. But they have a very wide attention span, especially to those three letters of N, I, and L. So anything you talk about NIL, you will already hook them. So yeah, just be yourself. Don't worry about it. They are going to come with their questions. They are going to want to know how can they get involved with NIL. They heard that their cousin is being looked at by a particular marketing agency, which we cringe internally because we don't like marketing agencies. We want you to be your own agency, but it's okay. So, we talk about those type things. We talk about the real life experiences. Like, my mom or my dad, they're afraid to speak about NIL with someone because my older sibling, went through this process of, issues happening while they were being recruited for college. So they don't trust anyone. They only trust the coach. So that's the biggest thing of, like we say in business, people do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. So the biggest thing is pretty much flipping it, building that trust first, then you know them, and then they'll eventually like you and want to do business. So NIL flip.
I love that. Love that advice. So you're going to be talking about building a niche. And I love, like, we had this last year at our event. It was amazing. We had a panel of different professionals who have carved their own space in certain industries, one podcasting, the other speaking and writing books. And so we were all talking about the importance of niching. And I think this is going to be an annual thing that we have to talk about, because same way that NIL has popped up as a new industry in the sports, like collegiate sports, how do you typically create a niche in, let's say, for instance, NIL, right? So why is this such an important topic for you? And the second part of that would be, what do you hope the attendees walk away with once they at the conclusion of your session?
Okay, so the first part of it is, as being an educator, look for those free resources. Have your students take those career courses, those entrepreneurship courses, those marketing courses, those principles of business courses. Take those courses so that when you are once you should start that in 8th or 9th grade, so that once you get to 10th and 11th grade, when you have the exposure, somewhat of the jargon that they'll say, like, just randomly, if they're talking about, so meet with a partner and they're like, okay, so how am I going to get this ROI? And you're like, what's Roy? Who is Roy? But it is not Roy. It is actually return on investment. So had you had taken some of these business courses while you were in high school, while you were in middle school, you would understand, they were wondering, how am I going to get this return on my investment? Can I get back when I give you, this contract for this amount of money, and you say you're going to do this, this, and this? How are you going to show these analytics? How are you going to show, real numbers? And I think going forward, like, I just want, people to know about career and technical education, especially in the middle school, especially in high school. Like, this is a passion of mine. I love CTE. If you ask my colleagues, they probably tell you I'm a little overly in love with CTE, but I just love the flexibility. We understand that we have to know, I'm from the South, so we have to know the 3 R's, the reading, the writing, and arithmetic. But within there, we still have to understand, how to make ourselves marketable, how to set ourselves away from the rest of them. So if a lot of student athletes can get into these classes of career and technical education, I think we may be able to somewhat bridge the gap. So when they go and they sit down in front of, possible agents later on, possible marketing, they won't have to be concerned about, this is all over my head. You wouldn't have to worry about that because you at least took an accounting class in high school. So you learned about this. You know how to fill out your ledger. You know your assets versus your liabilities when you're sitting in front of your financial advisor. So that's just my take. I love CTE.
Love it. Now, you are also the creator of the NIL Spot. What is that?
Okay, so the NIL Spot is pretty much the word spot. So it's a landing place. So we want to make sure that, our student athletes have access to pretty much any and everyone that they will need. So if they need a lawyer, if they need a financial advisor, if they need legal counsel, if they need ACT and SAT prep, like, this is literally the one spot where you can just land and all of your resources are there.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Listen, this has been a great conversation, and I just really hope that people answer the call and join NIL Combine this year. Last year we had a great turnout. We had over 100 people that actually attended. And so our goal is to definitely hit that number, if not more, because we do know that partnering with individuals like you is going to help NIL Combine to create a massive impact, an impact that has the ability to change people's lives and all of the people that are connected with them, that is not solely and wholly dependent on going pro. Like, this is the place, and this is the moment where our student athletes, whether they are currently athletes or transitioning into their professional lives or even going pro, like, you can create your own first $1 million without ever going pro.
Yeah.
I'm being
Yes, out of high school, out
right
of middle school.
out of middle school. Like, there's this kid that I cannot remember his name, but I think he pitched himself on the Shark Tank, or it was somewhere else, but it was years ago. And he created his own bow ties.
Yeah, the bow ties. Yes, yes, I
Yes.
remember.
Yeah.
I think Damon invested
Yes,
in.
I think he
Yeah,
did back him.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
is a major, like, if people really think about it, you could have any idea. And what I truly love about NIL is that it and the point of creating your own niche, it requires that you bring something that is unique to the table. You're not, yeah, you might be getting an NIL deal because sports is the thing that has kind of put you on the map. But when you start separating the sport from you, who else are you?
Yes, yes.
What are
It's so
your other
crazy.
interests?
It's so crazy because I had the conversation this week, and I love that I had this conversation with a student athlete who is in high school. And she said that her ultimate goal, she loves children. And so I said, take that and make your own. Like, you can do this. Sell your own shirts. Be Master P. Be somebody. Sell it. Have partners to put their logos on your shirts. Like, you can be a walking billboard, but guess what? You're getting paid. So I love the idea of finding yourself outside of sports.
Absolutely love that. And it's so true. It's so true. So listen, like I've said before earlier in the day or in this interview, I want you guys to come to NIL Combine. This is your open invitation. Yes, it's geared towards student athletes, but we need the parents in the room. We need the coaches in the room. I was one of those athletes who I went to my coaches before I went to anybody else. So I understand the amount of power and authority that coaches have over student athletes. And it makes sense for me because you are the extended family of that student athlete. It makes sense for you to also be in the room, gathering the same amount of information, because sometimes coaches don't know. They don't understand how to navigate certain issues around NIL, or who to refer you to. So get in the room as a student athlete, as a parent of an athlete, a coach, whomever, an administrator. Get in the room so you guys can get the information that is necessary to truly protect these athletes. That's what we are all about here. So secure your ticket right now for the NIL Combine 2023 live event before our price goes up. Student athletes do get in free, but we only have limited seats. So this is the part where you have to take action. Take action right now by reserving your space at bit.ly/NIL Combine 2023, bit.ly/NIL Combine 2023. And again, that's bit.ly/NIL Combine 2023. The event will be taking place July 27th through the 29th here in Chicago, virtual and online. Our first day is completely virtual. So students, don't worry. If you're not in Chicago, it's all good, but still there are limited seats, even virtually. So you want to make sure you go ahead and reserve your space. I am Sivonnia DeBarros, the protector of athletes, guys, and I hope to see you in July. And so you can also see Dr. Jam here with some of our amazing speakers for NIL Combine 2023. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Ciao.
Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is, so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Sivonnia DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success because we're all sporting about something. Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is, so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Sivonnia DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success because we're all sporting about something.